Junior nurses at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital have, after 21 months of working without salary, been formally placed on the hospital's payroll, with authorities promising to pay their salary for at least September 2013.
The nurses and midwives, at long last, have received what they demanded, payment of their salaries, and then negotiation for the payment of the arrears will be done.
Now, these aggrieved nurses disagree and are calling for the hospital to sign an MOU indicating how the arrears will be paid.
We have worked for 21 months in uncertainty. If you are ready to pay us, let's get into negotiation. Let's state timelines. Let's put it on paper. Let's sign a memorandum of understanding that shows when and how our payment is going to pay. That is the only thing that can stop this action.
Aggrieved nurses there. My name is Bright Nanamfo, and this is today's big story. Some junior nurses, numbering over 600 at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital on Monday, protested the non-payment of their salaries and allowances for over 21 months. The group said it will continue to withdraw their services until their salary arrears are paid them.
Last Friday, we met the authority, and then unfortunate thing was that nothing concrete came out. So we petitioned them, telling them by 30th, if we don't receive anything, we'll go on strike. So this is exactly what we are doing. And the minister said she has issued a check, but as at now, we haven't received anything. It's so sudden. For working for 21 months without salary, we live on borrowing. We borrow from our friends, and now we can't even go out. But when people see you, they are trying to collect their money from you. At this point, we can't work again without the money. So all that we want is our salary. That's why we are demonstrating and we are going on strike starting from today. We need our money, nothing more, nothing less. We've had enough from the administration, from ministry. With all the stakeholders, we've taken a petition to them. It seems they don't care about us.
The president of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association, Kweku Asante Krobia, has however assured their salaries for at least September 2013 will be paid, and even that one will take about 7 days to work out.
We have shown appreciation of the plight of these nurses who for this period of time have not been paid their salary. Thankfully, the management of the teaching hospital has decided to pay their salaries this week, sometime this week. They have. You know, at this stage, you should know that no strike has been started. It is just an agitation, and it is a decision to go on strike will depend on where we take the matter to. And for me, for what we have discussed at this moment and the agreement we have reached with management of the teaching hospital, there should be no reason for their going on strike, because their salaries within this week will be paid.
Now, these agitated nurses say they are not comfortable with the conclusion government came to on the matter.
Timelines of the payment of our salaries, we are going on strike, and it's a firm decision. Just this morning, we had a call from the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association. He indicated that we should give him some few hours to go and speak with the management. Indeed, we had waited. He came out and he said that management has come to an agreement to pay us from next week. Yeah. And we told him that no, this is not our demand. We have worked for 21 months in uncertainty. If you are ready to pay us, let's get into negotiation. Let's state timelines. Let's put it on paper. Let's sign a memorandum of understanding that shows when and how our payment is going to pay. So we have communicated that appropriately to him. He must get back to management. If they are ready, that is the only thing that can stop this action. we must sign a paper that shows this is how we are going to pay you and pay your arrears. Other than that, nothing stops our action.
As you speak now, you are not calling off the strike.
Not at all. No, because we are not satisfied at all.
No. We are going.
I have promised them that the management will sign that memorandum of understanding and then they will return to work. Meanwhile, I have made a strong appeal to them to suspend their intention to go on strike, and that is going to happen. Once I communicate that to management, we'll find a way of drafting a memorandum of understanding, and then the parties will sign, and then they will put the matter to rest.
These junior nurses will not budge at all. They are calling for a workable agreement. Now, they claim that that agreement should be enforceable.
In fact, we are all Ghanaians. We are all Ghanaians. We understand the exigencies of the time. We are not demanding that our monies be paid once and for all. We have our plan. Let's discuss the timeline. That timeline must favor us because we have worked for 21 years, 21 months, in fact, 21 months without knowing what is happening. We are young people, we have plans for the future. We cannot continue to work without accurate timeline. They must come into negotiation. We are not saying pay everything together. Come into negotiation with us. We must agree at a deal that you pay me this number of arrears at this moment. That is what we are calling for.
The MOU is not.
Now, why they are asking for the money, but the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association, Kwekwa Santre Krabia, says the arrears they are asking for will be impossible to pay at least anytime soon.
See, we will move from one step to the next. The most important thing to me is that my nurses and midwives get paid their salary, and then the established payroll system will begin to run. Once that is done, we will sit down and negotiate for the payment of arrears. You know that it is not possible. That's when I have pleaded with them to understand me that it is not possible 2 years arrears for over 500 nurses can be paid in one block or two or three blocks.
Right, let me go to the phone lines and speak to Reverend Okpoti. Albert Okpoti is the acting chief executive officer of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. He's just joined this discussion. Now, Reverend Okpoti, thanks so much for joining us.
You also, and thank you for listening.
Right. First of all, it has taken some time for management of Kolebu to deal with this situation. Why has it taken that long? And do you think anything concrete was realized or reached at today?
Yes, I think, yes, it is not unusual to have these winding steps, long way to reaching this solution. It is a practice that anytime we employ, we take the lead to our sector ministry, which is Ministry of Health, and then from there they seek clearance with Ministry of Finance, and then from Finance it goes to Controller. So all those places, it takes time. It takes some time to get to the final end. Hello?
Yeah, Reverend, go ahead.
So when we, I can hear noise background, so I'm not sure what I'm.
Reverend, kindly go ahead. We'll quickly rectify that. The noise from the background is coming from some other line. So, Reverend, you go ahead. I can hear you clearly.
Yes. So what I'm saying is that anytime we employ nursing staff, or for that matter, any employee of Kolebu, we have to send a list of the employees to our sector ministry. Then the sector ministry seek clearance with Ministry of Finance. Then from Finance to Controller and Accountant General. That's how they got onto the payroll of the government.
Right.
So it is not an unprecedented thing. It is the practice.
So we can Reverend, so we can conclude that in this particular situation, the right thing was not done.
I don't understand you. I don't think it wasn't. It was a question of the right thing not done. The right thing was done, but just that it was maybe it faced some unexpected circumstances.
Right. So even when you make the request, it doesn't take 21 months.
I don't know the full history of that, but I know sometimes it takes some time, sometimes 1 year.
Before you get the go-ahead?
Yes.
Did you reach any, what you call, agreed consensus today?
Yes, we did.
Can you share that with us?
Yes, we have agreed. We have a directive from the Ministry of Finance that we should pay the nurses from our IGF, and we have accepted it to do that. So from today, we are paying them from IGF. So that is the issue. If we get further directives that they should come back on the government payroll, we will do that. But for now, we are paying them from our IGF.
What exactly are you paying them? Their monthly salary, their arrears, which one?
We are paying them monthly salary as they would have received from Controller and Accountant General.
So you're assuring that of September can be paid by Kolebu?
Yes, that of September will be paid, and the subsequent months will be paid.
But the arrears would have to be taken care of perhaps at a later date?
Yes.
Is Kolebu being put under pressure when it comes to finances, paying these over 600 of them from IGF?
Well, it has reduced to about 400 and something, 50 or so. Yes, it constitutes a pressure, but pressures are there to be managed. You know, it depends upon who is in the leadership. I mean, if you are a prudent leader, you look at the challenges facing you financially. You want to look at your expenditure. You have to look at the revenue. Kolebu can position itself to generate more revenue, and that is what I'm addressing my mind to, because maybe there are leakages in the system that we have to look at. There are areas where we can create more revenue, and we want to look at all those things. If there are areas where we are losing revenue, we want to cut down all of the leakages, and by so doing, we will create a surplus to pay.
So you said that it can be managed depending on who is in leadership. So the assurance is that this can be managed.
Yes, this can be managed.
How do you intend to manage this? Recently, Kolebu wanted to charge some fees that ran into trouble. Let me put it that way. How do you manage what you have on your hands now?
Managing, yes, we are going to revise it, but that is just been put on hold, awaiting the 21 days sitting of Parliament clearance, and then we'll go back to the new fees. And that has not been thrown out completely. Now, don't forget that Kolebu has been retooled by government. The government had to retool Kolebu with about $200 million. We are getting a new MRI machine, we are getting a new CT scan, we are getting new laboratory. I mean, we are getting a new laundry, a new baking facilities. So,
you're sure with all these, you can put your plan into action, get Kolebu
when
running?
we manage the cash flow of all those places, and it doesn't go through the mainstreams and just suffer some leakages left and right, but it is managed prudently as a project, we should be able to generate the necessary revenue to pay from IGF. So I think there's hope for us.
Yeah, so for Kolebu, thank you so much for speaking to me, the Acting Chief Executive, Reverend Albert Okpoti, Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Let me again stay on the phone lines. One of the nurses has just joined this discussion. Thanks so much. You do not want your name to be mentioned. What are you scared of?
Victimization. I don't want anybody to victimize me about my salary.
Right. Now, let's talk about what happened today. Your quest to have your salaries paid, according to you nurses, it's been 21 months. Are you happy with what you ended the meeting with today?
Honestly speaking, we are not happy about it, but then we have no option but to just accept it. We are just praying that, as he said, at the end of October, they are going to get back to us and they are going to tell us the timelines as to when they are going to pay our arrears. So we are hoping for the best by the end of October.
Now, if you say you're not happy, tell me, why aren't you happy?
I'm not happy because I have borrowed a lot of money. And in fact, the money I'm going to get tomorrow, that is if it's to come tomorrow, I'm going to use to pay my debt. And at the end of the day, I'm still not having any money. I owe a lot of people. I've been borrowing from the day I started work, and I'm in a lot of debt. In fact, I can't even pay my rent. I'm being sacked from my house. So I have to pay. So the month's salary they're going to give to me is going to do nothing to me. What I need is the bulk of the money. That is when I can see that, yes, I am getting my money.
Now, authorities of the hospital are suggesting, your president, the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association, is suggesting that paying those arrears would take some time because a few things will have to be done. Is that not encouraging enough?
It's not so encouraging, but at this juncture, we have no option but to accept it. But I'm hoping the government will step in to do something better because we are essential service providers, so they should treat us well. If they treat us well, that is when we can offer the best of services to our patients.
Your worry is about treatment, or is about your salaries that are not forthcoming?
My worry is about the salaries that are not forthcoming. It's been long overdue. 21 months, it has not been easy. You will bear with me. Prices of things are increasing day in and day out. The price of money today is not the same tomorrow.
Now, are you nurses there? Tell me, how overstretched are you? 21 months, you've been working, your salaries has not been paid. How stretched or overstretched are you?
Personally speaking, I have been overstretched to my limit. I have exhausted my patience. I am tired and I'm fed up. I said earlier, I have borrowed to the extent that I have no avenues of borrowing. So even with the 1 month salary they're going to give to me, I'm going to pay that, and yet I'm still going to be owing. I don't have money to do anything. I have to borrow to transport myself to work. My rent is due, and my landlord is sacking me from the house. Even the money I'm getting tomorrow, I'm seeing if I can get tomorrow. It's not even going to pay for my rent because it's not enough. So they are not doing so well for us. We want the government to step in and pay the bulk of our salaries. We know that it can't be paid in full, but at least if it's going to be paid in half, maybe you are going to get the first half, then it's another half. It will be better than this 1 month salary issue.
Are you not satisfied with the explanation that the processes of getting you onto the payroll of these facilities that you work at takes some time, and so
we are not so satisfied? Because our other colleagues in other hospitals, they have received theirs. So why should we, the staff in Kolobu, I should be different? Are we not offering the same services? Don't you have the same certificate? Why should ours be different when it comes to payments? It is not fair. Kolobu is a center of excellence. Come there and come and see the service we are offering. It has been hectic working without our salaries. They need to do something now. The government has to step in and pay our salaries.
Of course, we have information, Reverend Okweti says the money will be paid. But the problem, of course, is with the arrears. That is what you nurses are talking about.
Yes, and the arrears is what matters to us most because we need that bulk of money to pay all our debt.
You have called off your strike action?
Yes.
So you've started working now?
Yes.
And management has promised to fulfill every promise by the ending of October.
Yes, they have promised, but you understand that you're not going to live on those promises. They have been promising since till date. So this is not a new promise to us. It's just like some of those old promises.
Would you be able to recount some of the promises that have not been fulfilled?
Oh, they keep telling us that we are working on it. That was somewhere in around June, July. We are going to be put on the government's payroll. Our financial clearance is going to be in. And so the clearance has not even come on. And to think that they are telling us that we are not going to be put on the government's payroll now and that maybe later, so Kolobu should pay us through IGF. They have not been truthful with us. We have been very stretched. So right now, we want them to do something more. Fine, they are doing well with the 1 month salary. But then I think the government can do better by giving us the bulk of our salaries soon.
In your period of, let me say, very little, management of Kolobu has come in to support you, one way or the other.
Come in to support in what way?
What I mean is, in this 21 months,
yes.
Has management of Kolobu perhaps not stretched a finger towards your upkeep in terms of giving you one thing or the other?
They hadn't given us anything. The only option they gave to us was the issue of the salary advance. And with the salary advance, they are saying it's 50% of our salaries. But then when you have to apply for the salary advance, it takes a very long process. And even when the money comes, it's just a meager sum that you can get. The highest you can get is about 250 Ghana cedis. And tell me, what can 250 Ghana cedis in a month do?
the nurses involved in this did not take advantage of that, if I should put it, helping hand?
In fact, that system had been in place. When you started agitation, it was not working for us. When you decided to go on the demonstration, that is when they stressed on the emphasis of that salary advance, and they started to put it to work. And even with that, it's just a meager sum. It cannot do anything. It can't be compensatory enough as for our salaries.
Now, October, you're expecting management to fulfill every promise, including your arrears. What happens if this promise again falls on the rocks?
I just hope it doesn't fall on the rock. If not, a repetition of what happened today is going to come alive.
Right. Hold the line now. Let me speak to your president of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association, Kweku Asante Krobie. Mr. Krobie, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Now,
you're welcome.
Would you say that the impasse between the nurses and management and staff of Korle Bu Teaching Hospital was amicably resolved today?
Yes, I would say so.
Tell me why you think you say so, because the nurses who are involved in this do not seem to be satisfied, totally satisfied.
Well, I'll be very much surprised if they say so or they think so, because the two parties agreed that the impasse between them came to an end today because the payment of their salary would begin this September ending.
Right.
And within the few days before us, they are going to start to receive their first pay. And then agreement was reached that they will come back to the negotiation table and discuss the payment of arrears. That is the 20 or 21 months that they didn't receive salary.
And you think this should make them happy?
Well, obviously, the treatment that the problems that they have encountered over the 21 months, not a pleasant one. And for this reason, I wouldn't say they have to be happy. But for the simple reason that we've been able to reach an agreement, and we will settle the matter when we come to the negotiating table to do away with the arrears. I think that this is the way forward to getting the nurses satisfied.
How would you react to if the nurses told you that they have heard these promises over and over and over and over again, and so are not even sure if the final one that was made today will be fulfilled come October?
Well, I don't think we're going to have a problem with that, unless probably Korle Bu management decides to renege on their responsibility. But I will see no reason why Korle Bu will want to do that, because the nurses have had enough, and everybody's patience ran out, at least by the close of before the beginning of discussion today. And I don't think that there will be a repetition of the event that we have witnessed over the 21 months. I don't think so at all.
Let me pick your brain before I let you go on this. Now, you have seen what the nurses have gone through. You saw the demonstration today. This way of getting nurses onto the payroll of facilities they work at, where they would have to get to the Ministry of Health through to Finance before they are properly put on the payroll. Would you recommend a shift, a change of this system?
Well, I would not, because I myself find it quite strange that the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital should be requested to pay salaries of workers that they have employed. But the management itself, when during the interaction, I could sense that they were comfortable with that. And so long as the nurses are going to get exactly what their colleagues elsewhere who are paid through Controller and Accountant General Department are getting, I don't think it should be a cause for worry at all. Whoever is paying their salary, for me, doesn't really matter. So long as they will receive their salaries just exactly as others who are paid by Controller and Accountant General Department is getting.
Let me say thank you so much to you, Mr. Kuku Asante Krobia, President of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association. Let me wrap up with you, the aggrieved nurse there. Now, this is the assurance from your president that Korle Bu will stay responsible and fulfill every promise that is being made today. I think that is reassuring enough, leaving you to go.
Well, we hope so. 31st of October is just around the corner, so we hope that they fulfill their end of the bargain, and by then we shall receive the bulk of our arrears at that time.
Thank you so much for speaking to me, one of the aggrieved nurses. About 600 of them, the Reverend Okpoti said that the management of the hospital would have to pay about 400 of these junior nurses at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. A lot more of you have been talking about this particular issue of some nurses not being paid their salaries for 21 months. Let's listen and watch what you have to say.
Then it will release them to allow those other funds that are supposed to go to the controller and accountant and those various governmental agencies. It will be released to them as quick as possible, so that funds that which because they didn't really take a good administration on it, they will be forced to go and touch it. Then they cannot now support the various governmental businesses that they are supposed to support. I think these are part of the reasons why government is not really having a good way out of this.
They must actually work to merit their salaries. They must be productive. If this happens, then I think they are helping the government to be able to pay them. And I think that will not be anything to worry anyone to think of going on strike. The government has a part to play. It must also be ready to make sure that the citizens are also gainfully employed and must be ready to pay them.
Government must seriously sit up and try to evaluate what the people do, and then he can give wages as well, you know, to correspond with performance. Yes, so until that is done, he will pretend to pay and workers will also pretend to work. I think that government would not withhold anybody's money for nothing. If it comes after 2 years, it is your savings. Yeah. So if you borrow and you use, is it not the same thing? Yes. So you must borrow and use whilst waiting for government to give you all that is due you.
Government should survey the pay structure of the country. Then watch out for the living conditions of the people. Then you should be able to frame up a structure that can benefit all workers, so that to some extent everyone who is in the working class will have the comfort to move about, to have his 3 square meals a day, to have his transport or her transport to the easiest place you want to go. In fact, at the moment, the tariffs are risen up, and I think a survey should be done through all the public works.
And that's how we're wrapping up the show for the first part of today's big story. Don't forget that when we get to the second part, we'll be talking about you and what you've been telling us through our social media platforms. Thanks so much. I'm coming back in a moment with Marianne, the lady with all the interaction you need to go through. Thanks so much, and thanks for staying with us now.